Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Julie Wensum, the founder of Freedom Healthcare, and I'm very proud to have with us today Dr. Michelle Gamble from It Takes a Village Ministry. And we're going to do a special informed member spotlight today. So we're going to be talking about a few things that she's been working on, which is really special. So I'm excited to have her here, and we're going to dive into roots and resilience. So, welcome, Michelle.
Thank you for having me. And I have to say that I have been extremely blessed to be part of the community. So thank you for allowing us to do this special spotlight.
This is very cool what you're doing. So, we're going to be talking about today roots and resilience. And this is a healing sanctuary for women warriors and their children. So, Roots and Resilience is a healing sanctuary. And it's dedicated to supporting military women, veterans, military wives, and their children through nature based recovery and trauma informed care. So they have a comprehensive approach to address the unique challenges faced by military families while honoring their service and sacrifice. And they have a seven foundational pillars that they create pathways for healing, growth, and lasting resilience. So I'm excited to hear more about this. But you know what? Even before we dive into some of the questions, tell us a little bit about your background, what you did, what you've done, and that will make more sense to people of how it's led to this. So give us that great background.
Well, I have been an educator for over 25 years and a natural health care provider for 20 years. What brings me to this particular project with passion is that we are a military family. I met my former husband in Japan when I was stationed there as an educator, and he swept me off of my feet, and we had four beautiful children together. Things did not go perfectly in our marriage. He returned to the United States after serving in Iraq, and he was just not the same person. Um, Unfortunately, I did not understand the trauma that occurs for our veterans when they go overseas. And I did not have the tools or the awareness to deal with the situation appropriately. We ended up getting divorced. A little while after that, we lost our home in a foreclosure, and the children and I were literally homeless. I had to send the children to live with family members while I relocated to another state alone and did the best that I could to establish a new home base for the kids before they were able to rejoin with me. And that's why this project is so very important to me because I understand the challenges of our military women in terms of our military wives specifically. And what I tell people is that the family members are the casualties of war that people don't think about. You know, when you think about war, you think about the men coming home and, some of them are disabled, some of them are racked with PTSD. But very few people think about the trauma that happens not only to our men and women who are serving in the military, but to their spouses and their children. I just recently became aware of also the trauma that the kids had to face in terms of having their father away in a war zone, not knowing when he was coming home, if he was coming home. And then when he did come home, to see the tension and the anger and all of those things that flared up between the two of us because we were having difficulty in our relationship due to a lot of the things that he was dealing with as a result of being there. So, um, for me, I am so extremely blessed to be able to provide this opportunity to our military families to help them, to walk with them, to let them know that they're not alone, and to give them the resources that they can use to put their lives together, not only for the adults, but also for the children.
And that's a great background so people understand what you went through to bring you to this place. So what inspired you from that? What was it in that that inspired you to create the Roots and Resilience Healing Sanctuary?
Interestingly enough, last year, around middle of year, I found out about a documentary that talks about a ranch for our veterans in another state. And when I looked at that documentary, it's the Cover Me documentary. So if you go to our website, you also have the invitation to join us to view that documentary together and to have a conversation about that documentary. In that documentary, it talks about the Central Oregon Ranch for our veterans. I looked at documentary and I was just blown away at how phenomenal it was that the veterans that went to this particular ranch, they were able to finally find peace and to deal with their PTSD in ways that have not been offered to them through the VA system. They were utilizing ecotherapy in the sense of allowing the men to work the lands, to be able to engage with the animals, engage with growing these beautiful plants and growing food and things of that nature. And to hear these men talk about how much it meant to them, how it helped them to put their lives back together. And from there, they were able to heal and become re-engaged in society. The only thing is that as I was looking at the documentary, I noticed that there weren't any women in the
Right.
film. And so I reached out to the Central Oregon Ranch and I reached out to the person who was in charge of it and who had created the documentary, Allison Sower. And I said, hey, what's going on with that? And she said, well, it's not that we haven't tried. It's that women have their own issues, and especially because a lot of our military women are dealing with military sexual trauma, MST. And also, what they have found is that the men cannot deal with the sound of children around them. It kinds of triggers them. And so I found that to be rather interesting. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, there was just something that God placed on my heart. I guess I just heard him speak to me as clearly as you're talking to me today. And I just knew that this was something that I needed to address. And so I started doing research, because I said, well, maybe it's just not an issue. And the more research that I did, the more I said, wow. And then as I told you, my memories of being a military wife and dealing with the consequences, the second, third generation consequences of the wars, I pulled it all together and I said, we've got to talk about this. When people think about our homeless veteran population, they don't think about women and children, and they are largely unseen. And that is intentional because a lot of our women, military women that are homeless with children, they live in fear because they don't want to go into the shelters because they're dangerous, especially for themselves as women and also for their children. And also they hesitate to be known because there's a fear of having their children taken away from them. And so a lot of these women are what we call couch surfing. So they will jump from family to family or to friends and things of that nature, or they are living out of their cars, but they're largely uncounted and unseen by the majority of the various systems, and also they're usually not seen by the VA, technically speaking. They usually will go into other subsidiary agencies, homeless agencies that are in the community that don't necessarily understand their needs as it pertains to the trauma of dealing with the ramifications of being in war.
So, kind of in that thread, so what makes the sanctuary different from a traditional shelter?
I love that you'd asked me that. Well, for those of the audience who know me, you know that my passion is nature. I believe nature heals. And even if I just base it on myself and my children, I've always been passionate about connecting my children to nature, connecting myself to nature. And what I tell people is, you can't pay me $1 million to move to a city. And it's not worth it, because I know that what helps me to heal and to be stable and calm is being able to interact with nature. And recently, our organization, It Takes a Village Ministry, we purchased a property here in Greenwood where I've been kind of the guinea pig, raising goats and chickens and ducks and all those types of things, and bees, to just and even and telling myself that I'm gardening. I'm still working on that one.
You are. You are. All of that is tending the garden. It's all creation's garden. That includes animals.
And so when I thought about this project, I said, this is what we are going to focus on. Just like the Central Oregon Ranch, they are not engaged in your classical psychiatry or clinical intervention. It is simply about, in their case, the men coming together, the men talking with each other. There's nobody psychoanalyzing them or anything of that nature. Subsequently, we are doing the same thing with our sanctuary, that there's no psychoanalysts or, clinical interventions, any of that stuff. But rather what we want to emphasize is the importance of women coming together. This spills into something else that we deal with It Takes a Village Ministry, the importance of sisterhood. We live in a society where we have forgotten how to embrace each other, how to support each other, how to love each other. We have become, like our male counterparts, competitive and against each other and dragging each other down, thinking of each other as, competition. And I sincerely believe that this is part of the reason why we as women have the most incidence of anxiety and depression and cardiovascular disease, hormonal imbalances, all of those things, because we are working against nature. Our nature is to come together and to support each other. And we have bought into this ideology that we've got to do it all by ourselves. And that includes raising our children. So what we're going to be doing differently is that, number one, it's going to be based in nature. And our women are engaged in not only growing food, but also tending to animals. We are also partnering with Canine Companions to actually raise a service dog, which will go on to be a service dog for a military service member. And then also we have another partner who has generously donated a llama, is going to donate a llama. And we have our chickens and our geese and all those kind of wonderful fun stuff, and cats and dogs and things like that, to embrace the concept of nature healing and have that kind of therapy. And then also there's going to be the use of helping our women to create healthier bonds with each other, helping them to understand how we can support each other as women and as mothers, and how we can engage in what's referred to as alloparenting, where now I'm not a mom by myself, but now I'm in a community of moms where we all look out for each other. We all look out for all of our children. They're all of our children. And subsequently, we're here to help each other and to help our children to also create better, healthier bonds with each other in a community where people understand where you're coming from and what you've gone through. And then last but not least, we're going to have a heavy emphasis on helping our women to cultivate work-related efficiency programs. What that means is that if we can get them to utilize their VA benefits to go back to school, then that's what we're going to do. If they want to utilize it to go and get a trade, then that's what they can do. If they want to utilize it to opt into becoming a health steward, then we're going to help them with that. We're going to give them different options of having a way of generating and sustaining a viable income to support themselves and their family members, and helping them to access and optimize their utilization of their veteran benefits. So we have lots of various collaborating partners that are going to help us to create what we refer to as wraparound services, including access to different groups that deal with military sexual trauma, if that's an issue for them, or to just deal with uh, the ramifications of having been in the military or part of the military family. So those are some of the things that are going to make us completely unique. And it's going to be a 12-month program where our women will be living on the sanctuary grounds. And it's a protected ground. And it's also a ground where they are going to be surrounded by, as I said, women and children that know exactly what they're going through.
You said so many things that just really hit. One is it truly is sisterhood, because women, unlike men, I mean, they need their friends, but women do need that connection. And it is a true sense of the word community, bringing everybody together. And the name is perfect. Like it takes a village. Like it
Yes.
literally takes a village to bring everybody and everything together. And I love that because it's like you're helping them come together, be able to communicate, relax and let go, because I mean, God gave us everything in creation. So this steps even beyond what people would normally think we were given in creation. So the peacefulness of creation, the peacefulness of nature, the ability when you go out into nature to be able to just breathe and
Mm-hmm.
rest, and in a place that's safe and a place that, where the kids can play and get along. So I love
Mm-hmm.
that idea of all the things you put into that, because it's getting us back to that place of creation
Yeah.
where women could actually rest and be able to talk to each other, because they need to have that camaraderie to be able to communicate. So how does
And
go ahead.
oh, and one more point that I forgot to emphasize is that we are going to be engaging the women in the health steward training program that is being offered at no cost by our for-profit business, which is Sankofa. And the importance of this is that we want our women to learn how to be healthy and how to have healthy children. So we're going to be preparing all of our meals together. You know, it's not like we're going to have you go off to yourself and do whatever. This is going to be from the basics, because we're not assuming that anyone knows anything, because the
Right,
reality is that most people, most women, unfortunately, in today's world, don't know how to prepare healthy meals. Their
right,
version of making a healthy meal is going to Mickey D's or at
right,
most, microwaving something
right.
and slapping it in front of the child. So it's going to be very important for us to teach our women the key components of health and wellness and nutrition so that they can raise healthy and nutrition and viable children, because that is going to also help them to stop becoming a reoccurring pattern of becoming homeless again or having issues with their children and things of that nature. So we're looking at a very intergenerational program, and it's going to be a small program because I believe in having an intensive program where we have 5 to 6 families each year that will learn and have the benefit and the blessing of being able to be a family unit for each other, so that when they leave, our desire is that they can continue to be those resources and to be the family and the sisters to each other, even when they have left the facility.
Well, and there was two things you said. I was going to go towards the time frame, but what you said I think is really important, because people don't realize how bad food is for you right now, that it's full of chemicals. If you're doing, I tell people shop if you have to go to the store, shop the perimeter, but make sure you're choosing organic foods,
Yeah.
healthier foods, whole foods. And if people have had what society gives us as food in their lives, they're full of chemicals that affects their brain, it affects their mental well-being. So
Mm-hmm.
just trying to help them step out into a place that in itself is going to be healing their bodies, which is going to have a huge effect on everything else mentally, spiritually, emotionally, just by getting your body back on track.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's a big, now you mentioned that it's a year program. There's,
Mhm,
five to six families. How
mhm,
does the program ensure long-term housing stability? So they're going to stay with you for a year.
mhm,
There's going to be another set of families that come in. So
mhm,
what about the ones that go? What does
mhm.
it look like for helping them with long-term housing
Awesome.
stability?
I love that you asked me that because when the women leave the sanctuary, that doesn't mean that we stop taking care of them.
Okay.
Their case manager is going to follow up with them and continue to ensure that they are stable in their new location. What we've also done is that we want to also give our women the support to start up. So part of the benefit of graduating from the program is that we will help with your initial deposit for your new home, as well as the first month's rent, as well as like a little kit of different things that you may need, from blankets to sheets to, kitchenware and things of that nature. So all of that is involved in that. And then to add to that, as I said, part of what we're doing is to stabilize them economically. That's a big, big component. So, in addition to helping them to access various training programs or collegiate programs, we also give them the opportunity to work on site to earn money. So, they are given the option of working 10 hours a week to earn money. And then also, when they participate in that particular work study program, they will also become eligible for a contribution to the Trump accounts for their children. So there are lots of various incentives for them to be not only motivated to continue in the program, but also motivated to optimize the benefits that they're receiving from the program. And then also, like I said, their case managers will always follow up with them for a period of 1 year afterwards, and then check in on a 3 year basis and then 5 years to make sure that they are stable. And they will know that they can always call back to the hive and say, hey, I need a little bit more assistance because, again, because we have so many collaborative partners, including your organization, we have a lot of different resources that we can refer them to on a continuous basis.
Well, so there's a lot of moving pieces here. There's a
Yeah.
lot of things going on here. So,
Mhm.
what kind of measurable results are you going to be aiming for? Because there's a lot of pieces that they can be
Mhm.
involved in.
Mhm.
What would some measurable results be as they're going through this process?
So some of the measurable results are going to be that they're going to be required to complete certain training. So the health steward training, where they're going to be learning about health and wellness and nutrition. There are modules and exams and things of that nature that will be completed with regard to that. Then there is also modules with regards to financial literacy that they will be completing. So that's another thing. Also, what we want to do is get, of course, your pre-assessment and post-assessment with regards to their health and well-being. So an ordinary blood panel, because our goal is to help them to stabilize their physical health as well as their financial health, their social health, and things of that nature. Other measurements are going to be in terms of ensuring that they maintain stable housing after they have graduated from the program. So those are different metrics that we're going to be measuring. Additional metrics that we're going to measure is their participation in the program with regards to the work study program and also community service. That's going to be another component of the program, that they're going to be engaged in community activities and things of that nature. So there are a lot of different metrics that are woven into the program as it pertains to the various pillars that we are utilizing.
That's good because you're going to want to be able to see from the beginning
Mm-hmm.
through
Mm-hmm.
the end and
Mm-hmm.
where they are, some sort of
Yeah,
grading system,
your
like what have
before
they
and
achieved,
after
what needs to
snapshots.
be left.
Exactly.
Yeah. And especially the check-ins at a year, 3 and
Yeah.
5 years. So what's
And
your long,
another check-in, is also the children.
Yeah.
to look at where the children are academically at the beginning of the journey and how they progress throughout the 12 months, and to have those conversations with our women as it pertains to their development. So, depending on the age of the child, we may or may not also have to assist them with having those conversations and ensuring that children are getting the services that they need in schools if they are participating in schools, or for those parents who choose to homeschool, to ensure that they have a comprehensive homeschooling program that really meets the needs of the children and helps them to graduate in their learning and development.
I was just going to ask that question about the kiddos, because if they're
Mm-hmm.
living there with mom and the families and stuff, are there grade school, elementary schools nearby that they could attend? There's homeschool curriculum that they
Mm-hmm.
could dive into. So at
Yeah.
least their education piece, they're getting the nature and the nurturing, but the education piece, if they're there for a year,
Mm-hmm.
can't just step out. Like that has to continue. So you have
Exactly.
that
Absolutely.
available then.
Yeah. And it's in so many ways, I feel that God has been preparing me for times such as these, because I started out my career as an educator and as a curriculum developer, and I homeschooled my children. And I also had homeschool co-op where I helped other parents to develop the curriculums for their children. And then I also had experience in terms of advocating for parents and being a case manager for foster children. So I know the system from several different vantage points, from a teacher to an educator to a case manager, you name it. I've worn several different hats.
God's been putting all of that in place all these years to prepare
Hmm.
for this. Isn't that
Hmm.
amazing how he
I
works?
know.
Like all of the
I know.
training that goes on over a lifetime for such a time as this. I love that.
Hmm. Hmm.
What's your long-term vision for Roots and Resilience?
Our long-term vision is to have a program that is solid. And then we have another collaborative partner that is looking very closely at what we're doing because they would like to help us to replicate this design once we have optimized its functionality. My goal is that within 2 to 3 years, we will be comfortable in what we are producing as an outcome and have the ability to create, I guess you could say, a guidebook to help other people to create the similar type of sanctuaries in other locations. My goal is that hopefully at least one or two of the women in each cohort will say, you know what, this has meant so much to me. I would like to go to my hometown or to some other location and start a Roots and Resilience in that location. So that's the
That would
big
be,
goal. That's the big dream.
but that's totally doable. And especially
Yeah.
if women have gone through it and they want to
Hmm.
help others and it's
Hmm.
benefited them,
Hmm.
God's bringing them there and he's going to send them out.
Yeah. No one better suited than someone who's actually gone through the program herself.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. I love that. So, how can those watching and listening today help with what you're doing?
Well, the biggest challenge that we have is raising our funds. Right now we are in the process of securing the land, and we are now looking to help get funding to purchase the home units to place on the property to be able to have them be viable for the women to move in starting in October. So that is my greatest ask. If you and your community, if you are inspired by the story, if you want to be a part of creating an intergenerational healing landscape, to look at our website. And we have different opportunities for individual small donors up until $1,000. You can make the donation via our pledge website, which is accessible through our main site. And then if you'd like to be a bigger donor where you have naming bragging rights, where we can even put your name on a building. Maybe there's someone in your family that you want to commemorate and to have memorialized for generations to come. You are able to get your name placed on the building or on a raised bed garden or on a hydroponic tower or on a picnic table. So there are a variety of different sponsor levels beyond the $1,000 donation sponsorship level. But that,
I
like I
love
said,
that.
that doesn't mean that, $5 doesn't help or 10 or 20, whatever it is. Anything and everything would be beneficial, if nothing else, for us to know that there are people out there that love what we're doing. And last but not least, a way that you can help is by referring veterans or military wives that maybe you have encountered. Maybe you're working in a soup kitchen, or maybe you're working in a homeless shelter or something of that nature. You can direct those individuals to our website, because on the website, on the sanctuary page, at the bottom of the page is a link where you can apply to be a part of the sanctuary. So if you are encountering a woman and child that is from the military, or women and children, please refer them to us, because we would love to help them in their journey.
I think everyone that's ever been a veteran and everyone that cares and loves our veterans should be all over this. Like
Yeah,
this is something where we're helping the ones that have not been helped
yeah.
as they've served our country. I mean, this is a biggie. There's pieces missing, and
Mhm.
this definitely takes care of a huge piece. So what's the website that you can people can go donate to or get more information? What's the actual website?
You can go to our website, itavministry.com. So it takes a village. So itavministry.org. And on there, you'll see
.com or .com or
I know,
.org?
I realized that I made a misspeak. It's .org. So
Org. Okay.
itavministry.org. We are a 501c3 organization. Subsequently, the donations that you submit to us are tax deductible. We will send you a letter that you can utilize for your tax purposes for any donation that is $1,000 or more. And also on the website, you can see a lot of the other programs that we have. So if you would like to be part of one of our other programs, feel free to reach out to us. And this program, again, is Roots and Resilience. So we look forward to having a conversation with you if you'd like to have a conversation, or any other way that you'd like to participate. And if you're in the panhandle of Florida and you'd like to come by and visit us, we'd love to have you. If you want to come by and help us with our gardening or things of that nature, or our husbandry, feel free to let us know.
I love it. So it's itavministry.org is where people can go. And then what final thoughts would you like to share with everybody?
My final thoughts for everyone is, these women have sacrificed so much. And now is our opportunity to be able to serve them, serve the ones who have served our country with so much valor, so much dignity. And as I said, they have lost a lot in the process, and their children have lost a lot in the process. So this gives us an opportunity to give back to those who have done so much on our behalf. Right now, we are engaged in war once again, unfortunately, and I am at a loss for words. I don't even know where to begin when I think about what is happening. And unfortunately, this means that more people are going to be placed in these set of circumstances. And it is time for us to see those who have been hidden from us for so long. Because as I said, a lot, when we think about our veterans, a lot of times we can think about our men who are,
Right?
we may even see them on the street corner panhandling, but you won't see our women and children doing that.
Right.
They are hidden in the dark from shame, from guilt. And as I said, you and I together, we can wrap our arms around these women and children to let them know that they are not forgotten and their sacrifice has not been in vain.
What you're doing is a huge blessing for people, just huge. So thank you for what you're doing. Well, thank you everybody for listening today. Thank you, Michelle, for being with us. And everybody, don't forget, go to itavministry.org, find out more, donate, and get involved. And tell every veteran you know, and tell other folks you know what she's doing so that we can send more hands and help her way. So thank you everybody for being with us today.
Thank you, and peace and blessings.
You too.